right now. It's
Chat, will this music get me copyrighted?
very late, but I just thought that I would create this video. So this is a video that I've kind of wanted to make a while. It's covering a few topics that I've been kind of bothered by, especially nowadays in ranked. I feel like these past couple
Use copyright
seasons,
free music
ranked
this
has
time?
just been
Okay.
a lot more of a breeze than it usually has been for me, whether that's like new survivors coming into the game or just kind of some adjustments that have been made since like previous seasons when I've kind of grinded up. But
Oh damn,
I've
that
been
poor
noticing a lot
enchantress.
of serious problems when it comes to kind
That
of the
poor
IDV rank
enchantress.
system. So this video is going to be freeform, or a lot like my previous upload. And Zeus, if you're reacting to my video right now, I will make sure to include some copyright-free music from the YouTube audio library so you can actually use the music I include in this video. But yeah, I just have a few talking points here that I want to go through, 5 to be precise, and yeah.
Wait, did he just call me out?
So
Wait, I
the
didn't
first
hear it over Zoe's barking. Zoe! I didn't hear it over Zoe's barking. Wait, did he actually?
seeing a lot of serious
Hold
problems
on.
when it comes to kind of the IDV rank system. So this video is
Wait.
going to be freeform, or a lot like my previous upload.
Uh-huh.
And Zeus, if you're reacting to my video right now, I will make sure to include some copyright-free music from
God damn it, bro. Ah, he knows. He
the YouTube audio
knows.
library so you can actually use the music I include in this video. But yeah, I just have a few talking points here that I want to go
He
through,
knows, chat. He
5 to be
knows.
precise, and
God
yeah.
damn it, music.
So the first thing I want to talk about is how there's a very big difference between playing ranked and playing
I gotta commentate with
competitive,
music,
because
man.
those are two
I'm gonna
very,
text
very
him
different
later.
things. So the rank system, of course, you have your variety of tiers. But when it comes to competitive, two teams going up against each other, and they're basically fighting to get a best of 3 rounds.
Just for the sake
and I
of
believe
time, though, I'm gonna put it in 1.25 because rank is gonna start soon, and then I'll put on closed captions.
this game actually functions. At the moment, it's functioning quite well at the competitive level, but at the ranked level, usually the logical stage is you want to play ranked so that you're able to prepare for competitive.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I kind of view how a ranked system should work. If you look at ranked systems on kind of other games, a lot of the matchups are going to be kind of similar to what you would kind of see at a competitive setting. Of course, strategic-wise, everything's going to be different, but generally, you want your rank system to reflect competitive as closely as you can. But I think that there are a few things this rank system has that kind of prevents rank from being a real kind of competitive practice. Because IDV, it's very clear with the way they're kind of moving with all of these big COA events. They're having IVL, IJL, all these kind of variety of tournaments. It's very clear that NetEase wants to turn this into a competitive game.
Yes.
A game that both people can just play for fun, but there's definitely a competitive aspect that the game definitely wants to cater to. And right now, I think that the game functions quite nicely the way it stands at the competitive level, like at the highest of high tiers, when everybody's in 4-voice communication, and there's a very specific ban process that they have to go through in competitive that actually functions quite well the way it kind of stands. But there are some things that I feel are kind of suboptimal if you're kind of looking for a kind of competitive experience when you're trying to learn ranked. I know that season reset just kind of came around, and I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm playing a lot of characters that I'm trying to train up for competitive, like 2nd and 3rd kind of level of mains that I have, just to make things a little bit more interesting in ranked for me, because I could just spam like Dream Witch and Sangria all the time, especially now that they only have 1 ban at the reset. I could just spam like all of these meta characters, but
yeah.
But when survivors are not always communicating, I think that it's been a little bit more entertaining and a bit more competitive in ranked if I choose to play some non-meta. But yeah, so the first topic that I would really like to touch on when it comes to why I think the rank system doesn't work, and I mentioned this briefly in my last video, is that in tier champ and tier titan, the top 2 tiers for survivor, you're not able to play in 4-person PC, and I believe that this is a big problem.
Yes. Yes. Cook. 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 My brother. Cook.
Once you hit kind of that tier 7, tier 8 level, when you're supposed to be playing against the best of the best survivors in the server, a lot of wins end up coming down to survivors may have a lot of individual skill, but there's not much that they're going to be able to do. They're not able to communicate with each other. So I'm a firm believer that survivors should be able to play in 4-person comms all the way up through peak tier. And some people can...
Yes! Yes! Game about teamwork and you can't tee up. Yup. When you were champ or hunters were commonly banned, it comes down to preference, but the two most common bans did end up just being Ivy and Opera, with then a little bit of Hermit and Gamekeeper mixed in. It was a mix of those 4 hunters. A mix of those 4. Hermit just because of the fact that like comms and then, he's just too long.
Will say that this will make things a lot more difficult in Hunter, and I will kind of get onto that point later on in the video, because I have heard that be a common argument a lot, is that, oh, it will be so oppressive for Hunters if at tier 7, tier 8 survivors are able to play in 4-person VC. And yeah, it might be tough, but I believe that there are going to be far more benefits than there are downsides.
It'll literally be a skill check for the game, and it'll breed more competitively viable hunters, because now people will already have experience with what comp is feeling like. You would already know what it feels like to face a 4-man VC, so when you do a tournament for the first time, you're not going to struggle as much, and it's just going to make you a better player overall, and it's going to build more synergy with other players.
And I will kind of explain that later on, but that's kind of the first thing that I wanted to bring up, is that survivors are not going to be able to communicate at the highest tiers. And this is kind of an important thing to remember moving through this video. Secondly, competitive has a very, very different ban system than what we have at the competitive level. So the ranked ban system at the highest level is that you have 2 hunters that are able to be banned and 2 survivors that are able to be banned. Now, if what we know from competitive is that there's a whole process where a lot of bans need to... You get like 2 survivor bans and then a survivor lock, a survivor ban, a survivor lock, back and forth until you pick your hunter. Builds are all locked in. I know that would be very impractical to do at the ranked level, but this might be a hot take that I have. But just hear me out. Hear me out. I think that ranked should not have bans. Now just let me explain myself. Let me explain myself. When you're playing in ranked, a lot of times what hunters and survivors are trying to do is they're trying to play characters. Once you're talking about like that tier 7, that tier 8 level, a lot of times what you're trying to do as hunter is play hunters that, if you're a competitive hunter, you're playing hunters that you want to prep for competitive. And if you're not able to play, like nowadays it's Sangria and Ivy that are permanently banned. Every now and then you'll get a Bane ban. But if those characters are banned, you're not going to be able to get all the practice that you need against them. But also, if you're banning those hunters as survivors will also not be able to get experience to adapt to those hunters. So I believe that, and it goes the same thing, flip way on the hunter side. Even though I say that like Priestess and Seer and Mercenary, and there are a lot of survivors that are very, very oppressive. But I think that ranked, in order to make it into something that really cultivates and leads into competitive, I think survivors should have the freedom to play against like different kinds of comps that are able to be able to counter like very specific hunters. I know that you won't know exactly what hunter you go against in a matchup, but I think it'll be very important to set up, be able to really communicate what types of teams you want to go against. And again, this goes back to...
it makes sense. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that, low-key. That makes sense, but I'm on the fence with it because I don't know how it would affect the game overall. Because the bans kind of add a little bit of strategy to the game, a little bit more spice. I think no bans would only work if you knew what hunter you were going against. Yeah, agreed.
There being limits on only duos being able to play. I believe that the ban system could also play into that, because when you're not able to communicate in a 4-person team, you're also not able to like create all the comps that you would really want to create. And a lot of comps that are very strong at competitive require a lot of communication that you just are not able to get at the rank level. The kind of big example that kind of comes to mind is if you're playing in a team comp. I was just watching MRC versus HHDG, and they had a comp where they were doing all sorts of crazy rotations. But the 2 survivors that require a lot of communication were involved, and that was Seer and Female Dancer. And those are 2 survivors that you really need to be able to communicate with your team. First of all, when you need Owl. Second of all the setups that you need, and especially if you're going against a Sangria or something like that. It's just a lot of communication that needs to be involved. But when you're able to do that, you're able to create all of these comps that not only really good practice for the survivors, but also as a hunter, if you're looking for something that's a bit more of a competitive experience, actually going against 4-person comms and going against these sort of really like meta team comps have the ability to play whatever comps they want. And again, from the hunter side, being able to play whatever hunter you want, I think that this will make it so ranked more cleanly leads into competitive. I could go on and on about that, but I believe that those two changes would be, they might be hot takes. I might be saying like some crazy stuff. I think a lot of people will comment that not having bans at rank might be a little bit extreme, but I think it's something that I would be a fan of. Especially, it's very difficult to pick up Sangria and Ivy now because of the fact that ranked is typically the game mode where you're going to get the most effective practice, because you can go into quick matches and try to find a match that way, but a lot of times survivors just end up trolling in quick match. But yeah. I think that, and of course there's always the argument that you could always train with a competitive team, but at the same time it's also nice to be able to train with a variety of teams to get a variety of different styles, and I believe that it's something that would be very healthy in the long run. It might be a little bit oppressive immediately, but in the long run, I believe that it will train up better hunters on this server, and we'll be able to cultivate a bigger importance for playing in 4-person comms. And the next thing that I'd like to talk about, we're going to completely switch gears here. And one thing that I have said that I don't really like about the rank system is the way that it is only open at specific times of the day. This might be something that's like just a me thing, but I have a very busy schedule.
I can agree with that.
When I play IDV, I pretty much join online so that I can hit the rank session. But the way it kind of sets up, at least from my time zone, there's a rank session at 5 a.m. that goes to 7 a.m. and I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. to play ranked. Literally. If I wake up at 5 a.m., first of all, my playing is going to be very trash that early in the morning. Second of all, I mean, I just don't want to wake up that early.
Yeah.
not to play a game. So first of all, that rank session, I never do that one. I've done that one maybe like 3 times in my entire time of playing IDV, and that's just been because I like woke up early and was like, what if I rank now? And then I end up being very sleepy and I don't play very well. Mm-hmm. Second, there's a rank system at my time which goes from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Which is fine on the weekends. Like on the weekends, I can make that one typically. No. But during the weekdays, I know that a lot of people might have a similar experience to me. When it's 1 to 3 p.m., I am typically in school during the school year. So a lot of times that makes it so that rank session doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Which pretty much leaves me from the
night rank.
From the rank session that goes from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Which is usually the only one that I'm able to make. And I'm able to grind up to peak tier just fine there, because I typically go up the rank system very quickly, especially if I'm playing my mains. But it makes it a real hassle to try to schedule your life around IDV. And really, IDV is supposed to be a game where...
Especially when you're a competitive player, bro. Wouldn't it ruin queue times if the rank was open? Yeah, I could see that being a problem actually. Cause then like queues would be horrible, because what if you just queue during a period where like no one's playing, and then it's pointless even. We can't afford it in NAU, but other servers, yeah.
If you're playing, you should be able to play anytime you want. You can
have a job
maybe mention in the comments
School
if
and
I'm
a
missing
job,
something,
so, like,
but I don't
imagine
believe
that.
I know any other video games that have limited times for their like rank sessions. Not only the rank sessions, but 5v5 is also limited. Pretty much every other alternative game mode, I think every other alternative game mode, quick match is the only one that's permanently open. And I don't know, I just don't really see the need for it, especially because there's a game mode open at pretty much any time, but it's like never the same game mode. So rank will be open at one time, and then when it finishes, there's a blackjack's open, duos open, 5v5's open, something like that. But typically around the clock, there's a secondary game mode online, except between, I think, like 12 a.m. and like 5 a.m. I don't think there's anything open then. I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. There could be like some secondary game mode I'm forgetting about. But I don't know. I just don't really see the reason for it to be very limited. And there have been a few times where I've gone on hiatus just because my schedule makes it so I can't make all 3 of the rank times. And if I can't make all 3 of the rank times,
then
I'm just not going to play. I'm going to get like easy opponents in my like quick matches, and it's not going to be a very pleasant experience. So I believe that rank should be permanently open. I've heard some players say that this will lead to a lot of people... There have been 2 main arguments I've heard against this. First of all, there will be people that will just be permanently online and will rise to the top of the rank leaderboard. or to that kind of argument, I question, like, where's the problem? Like, the hunters that play the most and perform the most should be the ones at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I don't really see what the issue is here. If it becomes a real issue, then you kind of readjust your rank system so it takes longer to make it to peak tier. Which honestly right now might not be kind of such a bad thing, especially when hunters are able to get a ridiculous number of stars by the end of the season anyways. But again, the people that are online all the time should be the ones at the top of the leaderboard. If they play well and they play a lot, they should be the ones at the top of any of the leaderboards. I also have another counterpoint to that kind of argument, is that when you're playing, especially, I'm thinking about Tier 4 Survivor. I'm thinking about mid-tiers here. Tier 4 Survivor, Mammoth is a tier where you could go like 30 minutes without getting like a single matchup. I remember I was trying to play with Eli one time, and I got like a solid hour into the queue time and still didn't get a matchup. I was in like a four-person team in like Tier 4. All of us were Mammoths, and we were just waiting for one Saber to match up with us. And we got like a solid hour into queue times and never got a matchup. And I think that if rank times are permanently open, it won't feel like such a deficit to have kind of those kinds of queue times, because then you can just leave your device open and not really care about it too much. Just play and take a small break and play whenever you get a match. But during rank times, if you're going these very, very long times without having a matchup, it really feels like it becomes a real major issue, because then you have less time to rank. And a lot of times you end up getting through these rank sessions in Tier 4 where you're only really able to get like 4 matches an entire rank session because the queue times are so long. And also at peak tier hunter, if you're right now like a top 50 hunter, usually top 50 is kind of that threshold when it starts to get really, really long. If you rise up the leaderboards way too fast, you also get very considerable queue times.
True.
I've noticed this last season. I hit peak tier almost by like Essence 2. And when I went to join a matchup, it took me like 15 minutes to get a match. And again, when a game of IDV takes like on average 8-9 minutes and you end up spending 15-20 minutes waiting for a matchup, it really feels like you're spending more time sitting in the lobby than you actually are playing the game. And I don't know if there's any other factors making the queue times super long, but I think that this will feel a lot less punishing if the rank times are completely open, because then it won't feel like you're losing out on like precious rank time if it does take a little bit longer to.
I guess the only thing with this is just it comes down to player base. It kind of just comes down to the player base. Like, how many players are there for this to actually be feasible? My solution to this is just, I don't know why 4-hour rank is restricted to mid-tier. I think just every single tier should be able to rank for 4 hours. I think that'll perfectly be fine. Like, I think that's perfectly fine. Like, I think nighttime rank, like, 4 hours should be with everyone. That's literally it. That's all I think that they can do right now. And if you don't want to rank the full 4 hours, then don't rank the full 4 hours. No one's forcing you to rank for 4 hours.
Find a matchup. Next thing, very fitting to talk about around this time, is that the season reset, I believe, pushes players between tiers a bit too closely. And I have a few rank sessions that I'm kind of bringing up here. I'm just playing a variety of hunters on the screen for you. I had a variety of matchups that I kind of wanted to show. We'll probably get through like 2 or 3 matches throughout the course of this video. And I believe in this kind of setup. These are some of my first matches that I did like right on the season reset. And you'll see there's a very big kind of variety of skill levels that I kind of focus here. There are a few matches where I end up actually getting some 4-person comps, and I actually end up having pretty decent communication. But there's a couple matches I have in here where the survivors just have virtually no communication with each other, and I almost get kind of the inclination that they might have been kind of the mid-tiers of last season that are now matching up with me, because it'd be like Mammoth, which was like a previous Griffin, ended up getting down to Mammoth, and I was formerly a peak tier, shoved all the way down to tier 5. Now our tiers are right next to each other. And now me, who was previously unable to match up with the survivor at the previous season because of like 4 tiers of difference, are now matching up with each other because we're now 1 tier apart. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a system that pulls back and resets rank, but I feel like it might need to be reworked a bit, because the first, like, I would say it's pretty much like the first 2 weeks of ranked end up being completely out of balance. because survivors will be playing against hunters that are way more higher tier for them. And if I wasn't peak tier, I would probably be worried that the same thing would be happening from the hunter side of the thing. Hunters matching up against survivors that are like way out of their skill level. And typically players that are high tier find their way out of kind of the mid tiers really quickly anyways. So honestly, like demoting down to like ogre instead of like manticore, or having lower tiers demote even lower just to make it so that there's a bit wider of a spread. I don't really know how it should be adjusted, but all I know is right now I don't feel like it functions super well during like the first couple of weeks. I still think that the same survivors and hunters should be more or less matching up with each other upon the reset, instead of me matching up with someone that would have been like formerly a mid tier, because mid tiers versus high tiers, it's gonna be a big surprise who's gonna win the matchup there. But lastly, there's another thing that I would really like to bring up, and of course, we all know it, we all love it, maybe we don't all love it. It's going to be the ping. And this is something that has been an issue pretty much since game release. It's nothing new, so I won't talk about this too much, but it's very frustrating to lose ranked matches because of having bad ping. It's very frustrating. It's honestly doesn't feel satisfying winning a match because a survivor has bad ping either, because when I win a match, I don't know if any of you guys have the same experience, but when I win a match, I want to win a match cleanly. Wow, that was actually I don't want to win a match because someone disconnected in the middle of the matchup.
That was actually good.
So this might be something that's just me, but ping is something that's very frustrating, and the devs have actually been trying to work on it. It's something that's very frustrating now, but I think over the course of time, hopefully it'll keep getting better and better. I know now that they have people on NA matching with NA, they're going to use the NA servers, and then the same thing for EU. I think that's a really healthy change that's going to happen in the game, but there are still a lot of times where, again, matching up against continent, it doesn't really work out super well. If you have like 3 players from NA and then 2 players from EU, naturally there's going to be a very high ping that kind of results from that. So again, like the very simple solution would be like, well, just separate the continents, but again, the fan base, especially in EU, I'm not sure is large enough to kind of justify that. So I don't really know what they can do about it. I'm not gonna lie and pretend like I do, like I know anything about internet tech, but it's something that doesn't really function super well now. And since basically game release, it's been something that's needed to be reworked. Now that we have all of my kind of, I'm going to call them grievances. Now that I've kind of had a very large overview of everything that kind of bothers me about ranked right now, I would like to kind of go back to the first counterpoint I was kind of arguing about in my first point, which is that these changes will create a very oppressive experience for especially the hunter side.
Yes,
now,
it will.
Again, when I'm trying to set up this stage where ranked needs to be something that like preps hunters for competitive.
Oh wow,
or at least that's the way I see it. This is my personal opinion. You might think that ranked should be ranked and competitive can be competitive.
Switch to hot.
I just don't personally see it that way. But if we're kind of taking this mindset where ranked leads into competitive, you want to create that experience as much as you can, and that means going against survivors that are in 4-person VC. It's something that I believe is very, very important, because I expect very different things out of a team that's in 4-person comms versus a team that is playing in duos. I expect playing in duos, a lot of times I'm able to keep track of who's playing with who, and a lot of times I get a lot of mind games strictly on the fact that I'm banking that they're not playing in VC, which is not something you should be thinking about in a match. You should be expecting that survivors are playing like in the most optimal way that they can. But in ranked, I typically am able to make a lot of very aggressive plays, such as leaving the chair, or especially when I'm playing multitasking hunters, being able to make target swaps that I know I can't make with a 4-person VC. Because those survivors will be able to communicate very quickly when the hunter's leaving them, and they'll be able to gather to group up and heal. They'll be able to tell each other where ciphers are at, so cipher rush is a lot faster against a 4-person VC. And I think overall the experience is that it's a lot tougher to win against 4-person comms than it is to win against a team where you have some solo queues in there, you might have a duo. But when you get 4-person comms in the mix, that is the one time that I believe that we can have a kind of composite IDV experience that really preps up the best hunters that we can have on this server, and also creates the best communication we can have from a survivor perspective. So yeah, overall I believe that in ranked we should change the limits on having duos in Champ and Titan tier. I believe that all tiers should be able to play in 4-person teams. Secondly, I believe that the ban system either needs to be reworked or completely removed, because again, it doesn't allow you to practice the characters that you feel like you need to practice from the hunter perspective, but also at the survivor perspective. I mean, not being able to play priestess or seer a lot of the time, or mercenary, really limits your ability to play into comps that kind of rely on those if you're trying to prepare for something. So I believe that eliminating the ban system will be very nice for both sides.
It'll be a hard learning curve.
It might make things a little bit more difficult if you want to look into playing non-meta, but again, if you're playing non-meta and you're prepping it for tournament, at the competitive level, if they know what character you play, they're going to be looking to counter comp against you anyways, so It will still be good practice nonetheless. Third, rank not being open makes this game so inconvenient to schedule for. I think that if rank times were always open, yeah, the queue times might be slightly longer, but
slightly is an understatement.
It will allow players like myself with busier schedules at times to be able to play throughout the entire year, not just part of the year, by allowing to play at our own convenience, and also will make it so that it doesn't feel as punishing whenever you have very, very long queue times, because it's not eating up the quote-unquote precious rank time. The reset combines tiers, in my opinion, a little too closely together. So I was peak tier, moved down to Manicore, and now I'm playing against survivors that I feel like are a bit beneath my skill level, and again, I just have to work to kind of get past that and back up to kind of where I was. I feel that the reset compresses things a little bit too closely together. Again, I'm not like super upset about the way it kind of stands, but it's just a little bit annoying to have to try to work through the first 2 weeks of season reset in order to get actual matchups that are kind of worth practicing my hunters on. And lastly, of course, we all know ping is an issue that needs to be fixed. But yeah, that's been the video. If you like the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this.
100%.
And if you have any alternative opinions, make sure to let me know in the comments below. I will be, as I have been in the previous videos that I've kind of uploaded long form like this, I will engage with a discussion with you all. So, but yeah, it's currently 1 a.m. now, so I am going to
sleep
now. All right. Good night. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good video. Good video. I agree with a lot of his points, although I do think, you know, they need a little bit more, they're still in the woodwork, you know, they still need to be properly